Grüß, willkommen in einem anderen Abwägens video. Welcome to another exciting video, in this case episode 4 of my Star Trek The Original Series speculation series of videos. In this video I'll cover a possible map of the original series Federation based on scripts references, and then attempt to fill in any potential gaps which I can speculate, which is a reasonable speculation I have to admit. This series of videos will differ from my previous in the different level of speculation required. I'll cover topics of interest where I simply lack sufficient evidence to create a credible and holistic view, so instead I will take what minimal facts I have and backfill the many gaps with my speculation. I could be totally wrong, but what I'll come up with will not conflict with the canon of Star Trek The Original Series or the animated series, so you never know, could be correct. In this video I'll be covering my existing map of the Federation and also Romulan and Klingons as far as I can get information on those areas based on the original series scripts, and using this to see if we can fill any gaps using some plausible speculative theories. I have to admit, when I originally started this series I never really had much interest in creating maps, as the information in the scripts are simply not sufficient to create anything useful, or so I thought. After I did create a map based on my series of videos based on Kirk's 5-year mission voyage, or a travelogue of it, I realised that a map can provide some valuable clues which can allow me to fill some gaps by simply asking myself, if this map is correct, what is plausible and what is not plausible? The map I've created used plausible theories based on the script. Sometimes the accuracy is high, sometimes the accuracy is low. However, at least using this methodology, the position of the various systems have a higher than average probability of being correct. If we draw a circle of the Federation and have no idea where, for example, Vulcan is, then the probability of it being anywhere in the circle is effectively the same. If we apply a theory which narrows down the location, the probability of this location is higher than other locations. This process can be followed as many times as data points are available to create new theories until we arrive at a location probability which is comparatively high. Of course, if any of these theories are wrong, the probability collapses. But this could only occur if a new piece of information becomes available, which allows us to create new, better theories which conflict with the previous theories. This is the process I've used to create my initial maps. Once this map is created, we can now look at it and try to identify patterns which allow us to create new theories, not based on the scripts, but based on the patterns we observe in the map. This gives us a lower probability location accuracy, I admit, but it still should be better than a default average probability used where no theories are used to narrow down its location. It's not a great way of locating planets or systems, but it does give us something which has a greater probability of being correct than a simple random Boolean distribution. Let's look at possibly the simplest pattern, the star bases. First, a quick explanation of this map. The star bases have a red line around them, and the number inside is the number of light years multiplied by 10. The location is either above or below Earth or Sol. Positive is above and or towards galactic north. Negative is below or towards galactic south. North-south, of course, is determined by clockwork motion of the galaxy. In my old map, or original map, based on scripts, we can identify two star bases, Starbase 10 and Starbase 4. You'll notice these two star bases are close to the Romulan border and are not too far from the plane Earth is on, although Starbase 10 is 120 light years towards galactic north. Shown here are the known defensive systems observing the neutral zone, 7 in all, which was based on the map seen in the episode of Star Trek The Original Series. I've assumed they are all in the same plane as Earth, or very close, so Starbase 10 may be more than 120 light years from these bases. On the other hand, this is a lot closer than Earth or any of the other developed systems in the Federation, so would prove useful in supplying these defensive bases. This shows all the known starbases, in this case including Starbase 10. This is also close to the border, although 200 light years from the same plane as Earth. We can fill in some additional starbases, although the theories to support these locations have a much lower probability than my original standard map based directly on the script references. But of the three we do know of, they're all facing the Romulans and seem to have been established to supply the neutral zone as well as be a forward logistic base for any Starfleet spacecraft. We can also guess Starbase 1 would have been the first starbase created and in the most strategic central location. Apart from Starbase 6, which looks like it's at the opposite end of the Federation space, most starbases up to 26 would be facing or are facing the Romulans. Perhaps one was established at each of the south, north, opposite galactic center, and one on each side of Federation space. So a total of 5 would not be facing the Romulans. This shows the probable location of all 9 starbases, which we have numbers for. The 2 in the center are either in the galactic north or south of the Federation, 380 light-years distant from Earth. All the rest are within 120 light-years of Earth's plane, except for one starbase. There is likely a starbase at the Federation rear side or at the top of this screen, shown as a red dot, as the one at the front edge of the Federation is numbered 27. I'll make a wild guess here and call this red dot starbase 26, assuming the Federation decided to create both these starbases around about the same time to cover potential gaps in their defensive line. You'll notice a lack of systems at the top of the Federation on this map. As the Enterprise rarely ever travels to this area, this is probably understandable. I have to assume a lot of unknown planets are in this area. It's just I don't know what their names are or even have the wildest idea of where they may be located, so there's a gap. Starbase 1 is likely positioned the central position on the Romulan border shown in purple. We can also assume the defensive observation systems also extend to cover the entire neutral zone as it existed in 2160, also shown in purple. I'm uncertain why the border seems to be so uneven in this area, but this is copied from one of the few maps shown in the original series, so I expect the United Earth found it easier to advance towards the Romulan main system by veering left, perhaps. This may have been done to avoid extensive defensive systems. To identify the first 12 starbases, we also need to find a location for starbases 3, 5, 7 and 8. There are some gaps we need to fill in this map, such as the mirror pair of starbases to starbase 11 and 9. This would be at the top of our map. We also need 2 starbases in the bulge location and likely the final starbase between starbase 4 and starbase 11, also indicated in green. This gives us our first 13 starbases. I don't want to progress any further as the probability of getting the locations even vaguely right drops down pretty low. It seems reasonable the United Earth established 13 starbases to cover the frontier with Romulans, and perhaps one way in the rear to keep an eye out on systems in the Vulcan Trading Association area, which would later be used to protect those same planets. Perhaps all the starbases were created when the Federation was formed, and one needed to be placed there to keep any allies in that area happy. My next project in this video is to identify the alien planets which were part of the Vulcan Trading Association, which became eventually Federation members. This will also use some very thin assumptions or theories. This lists the planet which are likely member planets, including Vulcan can only assume the names of 8, and if we include the animated series, a further 6 for a total of 14. First, the planets we have a better idea of the location for. We can only really identify Vulcan, Rigel, Argelis and Ardania, shown in green. The Tellarites and Andorians are probably my highest priority planets to identify. My guess is these planets are on the other side of Vulcan from Earth, Andoria being closer and the Tellarites the furthest away. The final 2, Cartalian and Tiberian, could be anywhere, and I would place them in any large gaps that I can see here. This is a weak assumption, but it's what I'm going for in this video. This is what my map now looks like. We've identified 8 systems, including Vulcan. I'm not going to attempt to identify a possible location for the planets mentioned in the animated series. The theories would need to be so thin and vague as to make placing these systems pointless. Regardless, these 8 systems are probably the ones that I'm most interested in identifying. Let's now try and look at the human member planets, or at least we'll try to. This lists the number of member planets in the original series. I will ignore the animated series for this exercise. Our first problem is, apart from Earth, Mars or Alpha Centauri, we have no systems located. There is likely a good reason for this, as full member planets would need to have a population of more than 1 million before being able to become independent. These would all be very close to Earth. In 2264, all human planets with a population of more than 1 million will be almost certainly within 98.8 light years of Earth based on my current modelling. In 2270, this moves out to 100 light years, again based on my modelling. My other issue is if we include all worlds with a population of 1 million or greater, we get a total of 72 in 2264, which does seem like a lot of planets, but I have to admit it is very possible. In 2270, this rises to 75. My other issue, I'm uncertain how accurate this list actually is. And finally, of course, putting 75 planets in my map would make it very busy. Instead of trying to locate all the Human Federation member planets, instead I draw a circle around Earth which represents 100 light years from Earth in all directions. All human full member planets would reside within this sphere. There is a wildcard. Star bases are normally created far away and receive specific assistance to develop and expand rapidly. I suspect many of these star bases may well be large enough to be member planets, especially the first 13 star bases. I'm uncertain what occurs in this case, but for now I'll ignore this and assume they remain star bases and never become full member planets. Have some sort of special status, I suppose. However, I will add some planets. I'll add the 3 Mars colonies, which should all have a population of between 30 and 40 million each in 2264. The stars are my wild guess, the actual stars that I think these planets reside in, but it's a fairly good guess. Just look at the dark blue dots. Most other stars are either well south or north of Earth in this particular example, but this shows you at least the 3 initial Mars colonies. Now let's look at Alien Federation member planets who are not part of the Vulcan Trade Association or network. The list is not long and 3 of these systems have an unknown location, so I can only find 6. As these were visited by the Enterprise, they tend to be unusual Alien Federation members, so would not be typical. I would also include Anar on the list as it existed and was involved in the Earth-Rolian War, at least based, I think, a high probability anyway. It would be one of the first Federation member planets as well. This map here shows 6 of the systems. Gamma 7a is off the top of the map on the left. Apart from Anar, these are all unusual Alien Federation member planets. There would be many more in the centre of the map, which the Enterprise never visits and which I have no idea of their names or locations. This ends my mapping exercise for now. While its value, the video, is not high, it does allow me to get a better view of where missing systems may well reside, as well as better understand the structure of the episode and basically the travelogue of Kirk, I suppose, where Kirk goes in his episodes. While there is no doubt the population of aliens is significantly greater than humans, because of the human colony program, the number of Human Federation member planets will continue to outpace alien planets. I expect when expansion of the Federation is no longer possible, this will reverse. But the galaxy is big, really, really big, so I have no idea when this may occur. Smaller alien civilizations would likely join the Federation or remain a bubble within Federation space, while only large alien empires would be able to stop Federation expansion. In the world of the original series, only 2 of these large alien empires exist, the Klingons and Romulans. And so we come to an end of episode 4 of my Star Trek, the original series, history speculation series of videos, in this case, Mapping the Federation. The episode scripts can be found using the URL shown. Alle guten Dingen kommen zu einem Ende.